The very day my fiancé Xieyushu topped the imperial examinations as the new #1 scholar, his mother couldn't wait to bring him to our door to break off the engagement. She wore a rich silk robe, her nose in the air, looking down on our family with haughty disdain. Once, our Xie family was in decline, so we agreed to this match with your merchant household. It was fitting enough. But now my son has won the highest honor, and the Prime Minister favors him greatly, offering 10,000 taels of gold to take him as a son-in-law. How could a common family like yours still cling to him? Out of old decency, we end this betrothal properly, so we all save face. My mother and father turned deathly pale. I stayed silent, staring at Xieyushu. He frowned slightly, but did not stop his mother. Instead, he said to me with helpless resignation, "Linga, I care for you still, but the Prime Minister values me too deeply. I must marry his daughter. If you are willing to wait for me 10 years from now, when my official career is secure, I will grant you a place as my concubine, so you may stay by my side. What do you say?" Staring at this tender, devoted face, I suddenly felt utterly hollow. Neither Xieyushu nor his mother knew that months ago I had already been taken back by the Prime Minister's mansion as his long-lost daughter. Back then, torn by our old affection, I had not known how to refuse the third prince's proposal. But since Xieyushu thought I stood in the way of his bright future, why would I not choose someone better? Your words are clear. From today on, our two families have no more to do with each other. Don't you dare cling to my son now that he's successful, trying to ruin his good marriage. Lin Chunlan sneered, shooting me a sharp, warning glance. My father sat stiff, his face dark with rage, his teeth gritted so hard they might break. My mother spat on the ground in fury. "Don't act like your son is some treasure. My Linga is now actually." Before she could finish, Xieyushu cut her off. "Uncle, auntie, rest assured, even if I marry another, Linga will be the only one in my heart." He bowed respectfully to my parents, his expression helpless but his voice firm. "If Linga is willing to bear the humble position now, I will surely take her as my concubine in 10 years, so she may live in peace for the rest of her life." The way he swore to heaven and earth almost made me laugh out loud. So this was how he loved me, by working hard to make me his concubine, not his wife. The man I had supported and lifted up all these years turned out to be the one who hurt me deepest. Looking at the man I had loved for years, I suddenly felt it was all meaningless. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. Enough. If Xieyushu thought I was unworthy of his glorious future, why should I beg for his attention? When I opened my eyes again, I was calm. "Very well, we will end the engagement, but since we want no more ties between us, you should repay the 100 taels your family borrowed from mine." At those words, Lin Chunlan and Xieyushu both gaped. Lin Chunlan sneered, "Did I not just say it? This Ling girl is nothing but calculating. Now that she can't get my son's benefits, she demands money just when he needs it most. When my husband was seriously ill, we did take money from your family, but did I ever ask for it? Your parents gave it willingly. Now you have the nerve to demand repayment. I'd win even if we took this to the county magistrate. To accept kindness and then speak so shamelessly." I had truly seen the depths of this family's audacity. If Xieyushu hadn't been courting me, and if my parents hadn't been kind-hearted, taking him as their future son-in-law and willingly helping his family, they would never have grown so bold. I smiled coldly. "That may be true. But my parents helped you because they expected a marriage. Now the engagement is broken. The debt must be settled. No, the county magistrate might not care for such trivial matters, but what about your colleagues at the academy? If word spreads that the #1 scholar abandoned his fiancé the second he succeeded and refused to repay her 100 taels, how will they see you? And if it reaches the capital, what will the Prime Minister's daughter think of a heartless, debt-dodging fiancé?" Xieyushu's face changed at once. Lin Chunlan shot to her feet, pointing at me, screaming, "Yi Linga, you are despicable." I smiled calmly. It was not that I cared so much about the silver, I just could not stand their snobbery, their greed for power and higher connections. Yi Linga, may be ordinary, but I was not to be bullied so easily. They had climbed high by stepping on others. I would pay them back in full. No matter how she raged and cursed, I stayed calm, smiling and saying nothing. At last, Lin Chuanlan's pride could take no more. She tore the new hair ornaments from her hair and threw them on the table. These are worth 5 taels. I'll send the rest tomorrow. As you wish, we settle this 100 taels, and you will never trouble my son again. Yushu, see, this is the woman you couldn't let go of. You're successful now, still thinking of repaying her, and she's nothing but cold calculation. Xie Yushu frowned tightly. Only when his mother pulled him to leave did he look at me softly, lips pressed thin. 100 taels to buy our affection. Linga, is that truly what you want? I was holding the hairpin, checking the gem on the golden hairpin. My hand paused. I did not even look up. Xie Yushu, you're wrong. Our affection vanished the moment you agreed to break the engagement and marry the Prime Minister's daughter. This is just debt repayment. Heaven's law. Xie Yushu stiffened violently. Linga. You know I didn't mean that. I'm just trapped now. I promised to take you later. I will keep my word. Take me later. Did I ever agree? I was too tired to listen to his nonsense. I chased them out and slammed the gate shut. From outside, Xie Yushu still called desperately. Linga, I know you're angry. Give me time. I'll come back for you. The next day, Lin Chunlan sent the remaining silver as promised. She made a great show of it, eager to cut all ties. Once I had the silver, I wrapped it together with 5,000 taels my birth parents in the capital had sent, and pressed it into my Yi family parents' hands. They cried, holding my hands tightly, as if 1,000 words hung on their lips. In the end, they only said, if you're not happy in the capital, this home will always be yours. I nodded, holding back my tears, and boarded the luxurious carriage sent from the capital for the Prime Minister's mansion. But my parents' worries proved unnecessary. On my first day back, my birth father, the Prime Minister, and my birth mother, the titled lady, held me in their arms and wept. They called me my precious, my darling, with not a trace of estrangement. Even when I told them I disliked Xie Yushu and refused the marriage, they did not scold me. Instead, they said gently, if you don't like him, then so be it. Even a prince we won't marry if you don't wish it. I had expected ending the betrothal would be difficult. How smoothly it went surprised me. What also surprised me, once he heard the engagement was broken, Xie Yushu did not cause any trouble. Instead, he somehow became engaged to another young lady, Lin Jiaoyu, daughter of a general. I had not known Xie Yushu was so sought after. Even a general's daughter would want such a petty man. But none of that concerned me anymore. I wanted no more news of Xie Yushu, no more ties with him. I only wished to spend my days fulfilling my filial duties to both sets of parents. But fate would not leave me be. After many days apart from Xie Yushu, I ran straight into him and his new fiancé at a flower viewing feast hosted by the minister's daughter. When I suddenly faced Lin Jiaoyu, I meant to pretend I didn't know her. But when I stepped left, she stepped left. When I stepped right, she blocked my way. Before I could speak, Lin Jiaoyu smiled faintly. You are indeed lovely. No wonder Xielang still thinks of you, calling your name even in his dreams. But you are too scheming, Miss Yi. A daughter of a country merchant, even if you sneak into a capital lady's feast, you will never be the #1 scholar's legal wife. You forced him to break the engagement and repay money when he was poor. You have no right to covet his wealth now that he's successful. A shameless, vain woman like you deserves to be drowned in the pond. I had no idea how she recognized me, but I was utterly speechless after her rant. I glanced at Xie Yushu beside her, hoping he would explain. Instead, he only sighed, gently tugging Lin Jiaoyu's hand, soothing her like a child. It was only a painting I made when drunk. Now I'm engaged to you, Jiaoyu. I won't think of anyone else. He then looked at me deeply. speaking calmly, "We already bought our affection with silver. Why are you still trying to get close to me? I told you, if you're angry, you shouldn't act so rashly, traveling all this way to the capital to find me. How do you think Zhao Yu feels?" I almost laughed at Xie Yushu's self-righteous nonsense. I didn't want to argue with them. I was about to reveal my true identity. But just then, the maid beside Lin Zhaoyu stumbled, spilling a cup of hot tea straight onto my new dress. She quickly knelt and begged for forgiveness. "Miss, this servant deserves to die. I dropped your cup by accident. Please forgive me." A faint smile flickered across Lin Zhaoyu's lips as she pretended to scold. "How rude. Do you know this is the young master's old sweetheart? She barely has one nice dress. How will you make amends?" The maid lifted her head and glanced at me. If a woman knows her place, she wouldn't come here to upset the young lady. But Miss Yi is lowborn like this servant. Surely you won't take this to heart, right? The mistress and maid sang their little duet perfectly. Lin Zhaoyu had certainly trained her servant well. I pretended not to catch the maid's mockery, smiling and nodding. "Of course I won't blame you. This dress isn't mine anyway. I forgot to mention, I stained my own robe during the feast. The minister's daughter personally took me to change into this. It's a new piece she just had made at Suiyun Pavilion, one of her favorites, if she asks." What should I tell her? In an instant, Lin Zhaoyu's face turned black as coal. "What did you say? Why would the minister's daughter give you her clothes?" She stared at the dress on me. Indeed, only the minister's daughter could afford such fabric. One of the noble ladies nearby spoke up, saying she had seen the minister's daughter wear an identical robe. Then Lin Zhaoyu realized what this meant. The minister was greatly favored by the emperor lately, and often clashed with her father. The general, even a trivial matter between young ladies could be twisted into disaster by those with ill intent. Realizing this, she didn't dare hesitate, her face dark. She ordered the maid to kneel and slap her own mouth. Through gritted teeth, she said to me, "It's nothing. I also have a new robe at Suiyun Pavilion. I'll compensate the minister's daughter." Xie Yushu followed close behind. As he brushed past me, he suddenly whispered, "Linga, you regret it, don't you? That's why you put on this act, just to get my attention." I rolled my eyes in sheer exasperation. When would men ever learn? When a woman wants nothing to do with them, it's not to pique their interest, it's simply disgust. The feast ended in unpleasantness. When I returned to the manor and entered the inner courtyard, I saw mountains of precious gifts piled high, glittering and exquisite. Only when mother called me to her chambers did I learn they were from the third prince. Congratulating father on finding his long-lost daughter. The Prime Minister's mansion recovering its true daughter was no secret, but I'd kept quiet to avoid socializing, so few in the capital knew what I looked like. Yet the third prince's enthusiasm made his intentions plain. Mother held me in her arms, comforting me, "If you don't want to, we won't marry you to even the emperor himself." But I spoke casually, "Marrying anyone is the same. Since I have a choice, why not pick the best?" I'd heard the third prince was born of the emperor's favored candidate for crown prince. I had no reason to refuse. Just like that, the marriage was settled. I returned to my own courtyard. As I passed the garden, the spring scenery was so lovely I stopped to admire it, and in those few moments, I ran straight into Lin Zhaoyu and Xie Yushu again. Their eyes widened in shock to see me inside the Prime Minister's estate. Lin Zhaoyu blurted, "What are you doing here?" I frowned, thinking, the capital really is tiny. I run into them everywhere. The maid beside her still had palm prints on her face. She lowered her voice, "Miss, I heard the Prime Minister's mansion recently took back a long-lost daughter." It couldn't be. Before she could finish, Xie Yushu shook his head firmly, "Impossible. That daughter comes from a distinguished local family. Miss Yi is only a small merchant's daughter from the countryside. It can't be her. I did hear a distant cousin has been staying here, clinging to the family because of some old relation. She tried to scheme her way into a noble marriage by climbing into a man's bed. and was punished just a few days ago." His eyes widened in shock as he looked at me, utterly disbelieving. Hearing this, Lin Jiaoyu giggled, her eyes filled with open contempt. "I knew it. A country chicken could never sneak into a noble feast by herself. Miss Yi really is shameless, throwing away a woman's most important dignity just to marry high. Just let out of punishment, and you're already sneaking around again. How dare you? You're not afraid I'll tell my aunt and uncle and have you thrown out?" I ignored her mockery, staring at Xie Yushu instead. He seemed to know far too much about the Prime Minister's mansion. Even I had only heard of that scheming distant cousin from mother by chance. It was suspicious how deeply he knew the estate's affairs. Seeing I paid her no mind, Lin Jiaoyu stamped her foot in anger, even charging toward the inner chambers to find mother. But before she could enter, she ran straight into my cousin Huixie, who'd been staying with us. At the sight of him, Lin Jiaoyu pointed at me and wailed, "Cousin, just in time. This wretch was rude to me and clung to my fiancé. She deserves to die. You must tell Auntie. Drive this troublemaker out before she brings shame on the Hua family." Huixie glanced at me coldly, then spoke sarcastically, "Cousin Jiaoyu, everyone knows Miss Yi is now Aunt's favorite. No one dares offend her easily. Even the marriage between the Prime Minister's daughter and Master Xie was broken at her word. No one else can say a thing. Who else in this mansion can speak for Auntie but Miss Yi?" He emphasized Miss Yi to sting me, jealous that my return had weakened his position in the Hua family. But to Lin Jiaoyu and Xie Yushu, it only confirmed I was just a clinging distant cousin. Before leaving, Lin Jiaoyu sneered at me triumphantly. "Cousin Hua is the Hua family's next heir. Even he despises you. Just wait to be thrown out." Xie Yushu looked gloomy the entire time. After leaving with Lin Jiaoyu, he turned back alone. He snapped at me angrily, "Linga, stop with these tricks. My marriage to the Prime Minister's daughter fell through because of you. What a cursed debt. If you stop stirring up trouble between Jiaoyu and me, when I rise high, I might still overlook your faults and give you a concubine's place. But if you keep plotting, don't blame me for turning on you." After warning me, he stormed off. My personal maid Quia had just run over and witnessed the whole thing. She was fuming. Pointing at their retreating backs, she raged, "These snobs, they can't even see who you really are. Why don't you just tell them, miss? Why take this insult?" I smiled faintly. "Calm, what's the rush?" With Lin Jiaoyu's temper, she'd surely retaliate 100 times worse. Won't it be much more fun to reveal myself then? As for Xie Yushu, I frowned slightly and let out a cold laugh. He was never worth my time before, even less so now. 3 days later, I received an invitation from the Empress to attend a palace feast. After taking my seat, as expected, Lin Jiaoyu was only a few rows away. When she saw my seat was even ahead of a princess's, her eyes blazed with hatred. The ladies beside her mocked me openly. Who does this woman think she is? To make the Prime Minister's wife dote on her like her own daughter? Lin Jiaoyu smiled coldly. These country women's clinging tricks are too low for us to learn. Born lowly, if you don't flatter those above you, how else can you leech off them? They laughed at me freely, but I didn't care. I just drank a few more cups of fine wine. Glancing toward Xie Yushu, he sat behind the second prince, apparently as a strategist. The second prince was born of consort Lin Jiaoyu's aunt. Their closeness was no surprise, but for some reason, I kept catching the second prince, someone I'd never met, staring at me secretly. Then the maid accidentally spilled wine on my dress again. I suddenly understood everything. She begged for forgiveness at once. Before the Empress could speak, Consort Lin smiled sweetly. "It's just a dress. I have new ones in my quarters. Take this lady to change." I couldn't refuse her grace. So I smiled faintly and followed the maid out to a side hall. But as soon as we entered, the outer door slammed and locked. I turned. Behind me stood a large, bare-chested man. Eyes bloodshot, clearly drugged. He grinned and lunged at me, tearing at my clothes. I dodged in panic, pounding on the door, screaming for help, but the maids outside just giggled at the noise inside. My blood turned to ice. This was a planned trap. A quarter of an hour later, voices crowded outside the hall. Lin Jiaoyu was complaining to consort Lin. "Aunt, such a scandal in the palace. You must punish her severely." The next moment, the side hall door flew open. At the sight of a woman pinned on the floor by the man, her clothes torn to shreds, Lin Jiaoyu smiled triumphantly and shouted to everyone, "Everyone see, Yi Linga slipped away from the feast to meet a man in private. A shameless woman who defiles the palace deserves to be cut into pieces." Quite right. In the next second, I stepped forward gracefully, my clothes neat and whole. I smiled faintly as Lin Jiaoyu's eyes nearly popped out of her head at the sight of me. Lin Jiaoyu looked as if she'd seen a ghost. I smiled sweetly, gazing at the two tangled on the floor, and said calmly, "To defure Lady Consort's chambers, they certainly deserve death." Lin Jiaoyu stared at me and blurted, "Why are you here? You were supposed to be." She clamped her mouth shut. Realizing she'd almost let slip the truth, I smiled and looked around at the crowd, my gaze finally resting on her, utterly calm. Supposed to be what? I was brought here to change clothes, and was on my way back to the feast when I heard the noise. I only came to see what was wrong. But Miss Lin, before you even saw the woman's face, you called my name and accused me of adultery. What were you trying to do?" Lin Jiaoyu blushed bright red, stammering helplessly, unable to form a word. The maid who'd been cowering on the floor immediately scrambled for her clothes, rushed to consort Lin, and knelt, pointing at me. She wailed, "Your ladyship, you must avenge your servant. I did bring Miss Yi here, but she'd already plotted to meet her lover. She made me keep it secret. I couldn't bear to let them defile your palace, so I refused. Then Miss Yi and that man plotted together and shamed me. I would die 1,000 deaths. But they dare to disrespect you. They deserve to be executed." Hearing her lies, the noble ladies watching all turned to me, their eyes full of contempt. "TSK, what family's daughter is this? So shameless, daring to fornicate in the consort's hall. She's courting death. You don't understand, maybe this is how she gets her kicks. The maid is lowborn, but she's still a maiden. To humiliate her like this is cruel." Listening to their baseless guesses, and seeing Lin Jiaoyu's triumphant face return, I smiled coldly. Such a clumsy frame-up. Not even a single piece of evidence, just one woman's mouth, and they wanted to condemn me. It was a joke. But consort Lin's face turned stern. She stared at me icily. "Whatever official family you come from, such a scandal deserves death. Guards, drag her away and beat her to death." As soon as she spoke, two maids advanced roughly to seize me. Lin Jiaoyu looked on triumphantly, silently shaping with her lips, "Wretch, this is what you get for opposing me. Whoever steals my man must die." I found it utterly ridiculous, but did not struggle. A faint smile curved my lips. As expected, the person I was waiting for would arrive any moment. Sure enough, the maids had not even dragged me to the door. A voice rang out, "Her Imperial Majesty the Empress arrives." Everyone froze. Consort Lin signaled the maids, who immediately gagged me, dragged me behind the crowd, and forced me to kneel. The Empress glided before Consort Lin, glanced around, and smiled thinly. "Younger sister, what a lively scene. What has happened?" Before Consort Lin could answer, Lin Jiaoyu jumped in eagerly. "Your Majesty, it's just a country woman who knows no manners. She tried to commit a shameful act in my aunt's palace while no one was looking. When her tryst failed, she framed my aunt's maid and ruined her innocence. Poor thing, Your Majesty. As mother of the empire, you must kill this woman to uphold the palace's dignity." The Empress glanced at her lightly, then smiled. She said softly, "Younger sister certainly has a bold niece. I am still here, and she already teaches me how to rule the harem. Very capable." Lin Jiaoyu's face drained of color. She quickly knelt and begged forgiveness. Consort Lin laughed and changed the subject. "Children speak without thinking. Elder sister need not take it to heart. This is a scandal in my palace, I will handle it myself. No need to trouble you. She signaled the maids again to drag me out at once, but the Empress suddenly said, "Wait." She saw my face through the crowd, and her smile softened. "You say the woman who fornicated with a guard is her?" Again Lin Jiaoyu cut in before Consort Lin could speak. "The witness and evidence are both here. She cannot deny it." The Empress glanced at her lightly, almost laughing out loud. "You mean to say the Prime Minister's daughter, the future crown princess of my son, would abandon her glory and status just to fornicate with an ugly guard? Miss Lin, do you take me, and everyone here, for fools?" In an instant, everyone's gaze toward me changed completely. Lin Jiaoyu gaped in shock. Xie Yushu, who had rushed over with the second prince, also stood frozen. "What? She's the Prime Minister's daughter," Lin Jiaoyu shrieked, forgetting all etiquette, grabbing the Empress's sleeve and shouting, "Your Majesty, you must be mistaken. She's just a lowly country woman who lucked into a palace invitation by clinging to the Prime Minister's wife. She cannot be the Prime Minister's daughter." Xie Yushu quickly agreed. "Jiaoyu is right." He glanced at me with disdain. "I am from Yi Ling's hometown. I never heard she was taken back by the Prime Minister's mansion. She cannot be his daughter." Before he could finish, my mother hurried into the hall. Seeing me pinned by the maids, she ignored all ceremony, slapped both maids hard, pulled me free, and held me tight in her arms. When she looked at Lin Jiaoyu and Xie Yushu, her eyes were sharp enough to kill. "Whether Linga is my daughter or not, do you think I wouldn't know? We kept it quiet only because Linga is gentle and dislikes attention. But you dare humiliate my daughter. Do you look down on me, on the Prime Minister's mansion, before marrying my father?" Mother had been a famous prince's daughter, decisive, fierce, and quick-tempered. Under her glare, Lin Jiaoyu and Xie Yushu trembled and dared not speak. The Empress smiled sweetly at the shaking maid, and said calmly, "Speak, what really happened?" Seeing the truth could no longer be hidden, the maid kowtowed and cried, stammering in terror, "Your Majesty, spare me, spare me. It was all Miss Lin's idea. She hates Miss Lady Hua. She ordered me to lure her to the side hall and frame her for adultery, to destroy her in one move. I only followed orders. Miss Lin would have killed me otherwise. Spare me, Your Majesty." The Empress smiled coldly, then glanced lightly at the sweating consort Lin, and said softly, "Originally, this was your palace's business. I should not interfere. But I have already agreed with Lady Hua that Linga will marry Ake as his official wife, to shame the name of the future crown princess. You know the punishment, younger sister. Decide for yourself." Looking at Lin Jiaoyu, shaking so hard she could barely stand, the Empress's eyes turned even colder. However, this girl spoke so rudely. She must be taught a lesson. "Guards, slap her mouth." I watched quietly as the Empress's maids pinned Lin Jiaoyu to the ground like a pig, each slapping her hard with wooden boards. Again and again, Lin Jiaoyu screamed in pain, but no one dared to plead for her. Only when her mouth was bloody and swollen did the Empress raise a hand. Lin Jiaoyu nearly fainted. I met her hateful gaze calmly, staring back without fear. Before we left, I saw Xie Yushu looking at me with a complicated expression. Regret, sorrow, shock, and anger. I could guess perfectly, he was going mad with regret over breaking our engagement. But what use was that? Even gamblers knew, once you placed your bet, you could not take it back. I smiled faintly and turned away without hesitation. But I never imagined Xie Yushu could be this shameless. The morning after returning from the palace, a servant reported that a mother and son were kneeling at the manor gate, drawing stares from everyone. I went out with mother. It was indeed Lin Chunlan and Xie Yushu. As soon as I stepped out, Lin Chunlan dropped her fake sorrow and smiled obsequiously at mother. She opened her mouth. This must be my fellow mother, worthy of being the Prime Minister's wife, such noble bearing. Mother frowned coldly and stepped back several paces, saying calmly, Who is your fellow mother? Lin Chunlan glanced at me and quickly said, "You don't understand, madam. Linga and my Yushu were once engaged. Even if there was a misunderstanding later, the two grew up together. Now they're a perfect match. Why not let this marriage happen?" Seeing mother stay silent, Xie Yushu stepped straight before me, his face complicated. "Linga, it was my mother who insisted back then. I never wanted this. Now you are the Prime Minister's daughter. We are properly matched. One word from you, and I will break my engagement with the Lin family at once. I will marry no one but you in this life. The third prince is of high status, but the imperial family is a den of wolves. Why must you step into that danger? Marry me instead. Live a peaceful, smooth life. Wouldn't that be better?" I looked at Xie Yushu and Lin Chunlan as if they were fools, barely holding back a cold laugh. "Black crows are the same everywhere. But the two of you have outdone everyone in shamelessness. Abandon the imperial family for you. Xie Yushu, you think far too highly of yourself." Xie Yushu's face changed at once. Lin Chunlan exploded, shouting at me, "Now you dare disown me as your mother-in-law. When you were close to Yushu, you came to my home respectfully every time, serving tea and water without missing a thing. Come look. Everyone, now that she's risen high, she looks down on everyone. She even throws away her old engagement. My son is so unlucky. How did he ever fall for such a vain woman?" She wailed and screamed like a shrew at the Prime Minister's gate, drawing a crowd that pointed and whispered at mother and me. "The Prime Minister's mansion is bullying others with power. They were once engaged. Now they humiliate them like this, truly typical of those who rise high. She was so respectful as a village girl, but now she's a noble lady and looks down on everyone. Who would want to marry such a woman? I heard the third prince wants to marry her. Even if she enters the imperial family, what good is she? If the third prince fails for the throne, she'll just find someone new." As the mocking words against me grew louder, Xie Yushu and Lin Chunlan both wore faint smirks of satisfaction.
For that, she had them paraded through the streets, so the whole capital could see the mother and son's true faces. I stood at the highest point, watching as the crowd threw rotten eggs and vegetable leaves at Xie Yushu. The weight in my heart lifted completely. I knew he was finished for good. By noon, after they were sent to the authorities, the emperor had heard the whole story. Though he did not strip Xie Yushu of his #1 scholar title, he immediately cancelled his promised position at the Imperial Academy, making him the only Jinsha with no official post at all. When the Lin family heard Xie Yushu had come begging to marry me again, they flew into a rage and nearly cancelled the engagement. Only Lin Zhaoyu's stubborn refusal, and her blaming everything on me, saved him. On the very same day, the emperor issued an edict condemning Xie Yushu for improper conduct and banning him from office forever. My betrothal to the third prince was officially settled. After the betrothal, I met my future husband for the first time. He was just as I imagined, handsome, with the natural grace of imperial blood, yet not arrogant. He spoke to me gently, never looking down on my years living in the countryside. Whether it was genuine or acted, it proved he was a clever man. Even without love, life with him would not be hard, and for some reason, I felt sure I had seen him somewhere before. But he never mentioned knowing me, so I did not ask. 1 month after our betrothal, I was invited to another palace feast by the empress. There I saw Lin Zhaoyu and Xie Yushu again. Though only a month had passed, Lin Zhaoyu looked haggard and worn. After her plot to frame me for adultery was exposed, her aunt consort Lin had not punished her harshly, but to save face, she had sent Lin Zhaoyu to a nunnery for half a month of severe meditation. Life there had not been easy, and she had clearly suffered. As for Xie Yushu, thanks only to Lin Zhaoyu, he had finally gotten a minor position as a secretary in the second prince's mansion. He was no longer a commoner, but compared to his promising peers, he would spend the rest of his life dependent on Lin Zhaoyu's mercy. His career was completely ruined, yet even in this state, Lin Zhaoyu dared to step forward during the feast, kneel before the emperor, and point at me, shouting, "Your Majesty, this subject wishes to report a crime." Hualinga, daughter of the Prime Minister, was kidnapped by mountain bandits while living in the countryside. She has already lost her virtue. I have witnesses and evidence. If your majesty doubts it, you may order palace matrons to examine her, at once. Every eye in the hall fixed on me. As soon as Lin Jiaoyu spoke, Consort Lin sent for the bandit and whispered to the dark-faced emperor. This concerns the reputation of the third prince's official wife. Your majesty should look into it carefully. The bandit stared at me and sneered. You've forgotten me, Miss Yi. But I've never forgotten your body. Heaven is my witness. Your majesty may have her examined. Is there not a red mole on Miss Yi's lower abdomen? The room fell silent, and everyone's gaze toward me changed, but I remained perfectly calm. It is true I was once captured by this man, and nearly lost my virtue. Lin Jiaoyu grinned viciously, even the emperor's face darkened, but I continued at once. But I did not surrender. I stabbed him with a blade, rescued another woman he had taken, and escaped with her. Lin Jiaoyu sneered immediately. How can we know you're telling the truth? Can you even bring that person back to testify? The hall turned ice cold. The next moment, my gentle fiancé, who never involved himself in trouble, cleared his throat softly. Ahem, if Miss Lin requires a witness, would this prince count? I froze when I met the third prince's smiling eyes. Lin Jiaoyu and Xie Yushu also froze. Life could be so coincidental. Either I was fated to survive, or they were fated to fall. The third prince bowed to the emperor, then looked at me with a smile. Years ago, while traveling, I was drugged and captured by this man. If not for Miss Hua's brave help, father would not have his son today, he was still explaining. But I suddenly understood why he had insisted on marrying me. A random act of kindness long ago had now become a marriage. It was all fate, written in the stars. Lin Jiaoyu was not executed, but she dragged Consort Lin down with her. The consort was sent to the cold palace. Lin Jiaoyu's father and brothers stripped of office. The Lin family's glory days were over. Xie Yushu was expelled from the second prince's mansion. He and his mother ended up homeless, worse off than ever before. He tried sending me letters, but every time he came near the prime minister's manor, he was beaten away. I paid him no more mind. After all, my wedding to the third prince was near. All I cared about was preparing for it wholeheartedly. I only wondered, my childhood love had ended in bitter regret. Could this mismatched engagement truly become a happy marriage? But I did not worry. It was just a man. If he betrayed me, so be it. The next one would be